Hello and welcome to a DraftKings preview for the 2020 3M Open. This is SweetSpotDFS, and in this video, I am basically going to go over the 2019 DK page. We don't have course history because, well, we do, but this is the second year this tournament has been played, and this course has been played on tour. So, really, we don't have course history. We will cover recent form. And then we'll get into the grass stats and swing stats. Grass stats is basically just the average finishing position for this particular grass, which is bent. And then swing stats are all your strokes gained, proximity, all that stuff. Every stat that would come from a golf club. That's why I call them swing stats, or a golf swing. That's why I call them swing stats. But before we get into that, I do want to remind you can watch us in a faster speed. If you're on desktop, go ahead, drag your mouse over the screen. You're going to find a gear icon somewhere down here. Drill down on that. You'll find playback speed. I prefer 1.5, but if you chose 2 times speed, you'll cut this video in half. Top right-hand corner, or for mobile, top right-hand corner, 3 dots that make a vertical line. Drill down on that. You'll find playback speed there. I'll also have timestamps in the description. Okay. Before we get into that 2019 DK page, let's go over the tournament fact sheet. If you're unfamiliar with this, you can also find this yourself by visiting the gcsaa.org, and you'll come to a page like this. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find Media Room, and you can find the tournament fact sheets there. When you drill down on that, you'll come to it'll look like this. Just drill down on PGA Tour, you'll find the 3M Open right here, and any other tournament that has been played. 2019 archives and 2018 archives are right here. So if you ever wanted to go back in time to see, a particular tournament, you certainly can. For the 3M Open, you can only go back to last year. So it's going to show the same thing. The course is a par 71, 7,400 yards, which is pretty long, especially for a par 71. If you were to go visit the website, it's going to look something like this. Where it says 7,100 yards. That's where they typically play it for this tournament. Or not for this tournament, for this golf course. But they have lengthened it for this tournament. Now, these pros are so good that it's not going to really matter. 7,400 yards is long, don't get me wrong. But, Matthew Wolff won this tournament scoring 20 under. And that's probably where the target score is going to be for this week. Or for this year. I would definitely target around 20 under. Stimp meter 12, which is a foot slower than Memorial. Probably gonna butcher this, but what the stimp meter is, basically a superintendent holds a stick, kind of like basically a ball's gonna travel down that stick. He puts it at an angle and he measures how far it rolls out. Now 12 means it rolls out 12 feet. 13 means it rolls out 13 feet. That's how you get the stimp meter. So this is a full foot slower than the Memorial Tournament, but a foot faster than the Workday Charity Open that both were played at Muirfield Village. So it's going to be right in between. I think it's always more difficult to get used to slower greens than it is to get used to faster greens. So people who played last week might be at a disadvantage. I'm not going to put a lot of weight into that, but it is, if there's a tiebreaker, I think you could use that as your tiebreaker. Average green size, 6,500 square feet. That is larger than we've seen in the past few weeks. So I think these golfers are going to find the green quite a bit. There is 72 sand traps, sand bunkers, 27 number of water hazards with 15 holes that water comes into play. That's pretty remarkable. There's a lot of water here. The land of 10,000 lakes, of course. You find a golf course that represents that pretty well, and you have it here at the TPC Twin Cities. So, if there are off-target golfers or golfers who really don't have their game dialed in, they will find the water quite a bit. And we'll go through that in the course preview. We'll look to see where that water is actually located. But yeah, We will see penalty strokes here, but of course we're gonna see a lot of low scores. So I don't think you really have to put a lot of stock into that. Bent grass greens, bent grass tees, fairways, fescue in the rough with bluegrass. Bluegrass is POA for those that don't know. But yeah, it's all bent grass. So bent grass stats are the only stats to look at this week, which is nice. Really nothing to really consider. The architect, Arnold Palmer, I believe Tom Lehman was a consultant. I know his name is included, but I don't see it here. Oh, apparently there was a renovation in 2018. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to look under Arnold Palmer golf courses to see how other PGA Tour pros have played. I don't think this is going to be similar. I mean, from what I know, Palmer doesn't have a particular trend when he builds golf courses like a Pete Dye would, or even a can't think of the guy's name, but at the Rocket Mortgage Classic, the architect there, whatever, you can look it up. But yeah, I don't think Palmer really has an original or something that he goes to, so I don't think you're gonna find any advantage when it comes to that. Let's go ahead and look at the golf course. Now, unfortunately, unlike Muirfield Village, where it was a great preview, you're not going to get that here. We'll go through this fairly quickly. I can see a little bit of a course layout here. I can't zoom in on this for you guys to see. I can't drill down on anything to show you a closer look. But first tee time, or first hole, basically, it's a straightaway tee off. The fairway curves for a fade golfer, but I really don't see any slopes that would indicate you want to hit a fade, or if you hit a draw, it would hurt you. So we do have bunkers here on the right side that will come into play, but for the most part, yeah, just there's no particular hole or particular shot shape you need for that golf course. Now, hole number 2 becomes a little bit more interesting. There is a lot of water on hole 2. If you can see the little stamp up here, if you're on mobile, I'm sorry, you're probably not going to see that. But basically, there's a landing area from the tee box to this little landing area. There's water before it, and there's water after it. There's no hitting it short. You can't go far right. Your miss is only to the left. So you could think of maybe finding a golfer who draws the ball. That's how you stay away from trouble, is just drawing it away from the hole. If, say, you miss it to the right with the draw and find the water, you're going to have to re-tee. So I think this is a fade hole. I think the first 2 holes are fade holes. And that's basically all I'm going to do in this preview, is just determine if it's a fade or a draw, and then we'll determine what type of shot shape we're looking for at the end of it. Go to hole 3, par 4, 501 yards. Really no shot shape required here. I think a fade is probably your beneficial, so that would be 3 fades now that we have. But it doesn't require you to hit any type of shot off of the tee. A draw and a fade will work just fine. And also, something to note, Matthew Wolff plays a draw. So he won this tournament last year with a draw. I don't think it's going to be really difficult. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal if you have a draw or a fade. I just think it's going to help. Like, it'll be helpful. Hole number 4 is a par 370 yards. We have water all over the place. We have water short. We have water left. I don't think any of these golfers are going to find water unless they overdraw it. It looks like a pretty steep embankment right here, so you wouldn't want to miss left regardless. So maybe, again, we favor those that hit a fade. Now, hitting a draw is going to get you closer to any pin position on the left, but obviously hitting a fade will get you in a closer pin position to the right. Hole number 5. This, again, has a landing area to hit the ball into. It would prefer a draw shape, so now we have one hole that does prefer a draw. But I don't see how a fade is going to hurt you off the tee. I'm looking mostly at the layout here at the top right. You can't really see anything from the picture, But yeah, I don't think it doesn't matter for shot shape there. Hole number 6 definitely has a fade off of the tee box. If you were to hit a draw, you're just going away from where the hole bends. So this is a left to right ball flight. It's a par 5, 591 yards. So we got to keep that in mind. The approach shot, however, would favor a draw. So I think if you just find the fairway, hitting a draw into the green is the most beneficial. That is the only way to really get an eagle on this hole. I don't think hitting a fade on your approach shot is going to help at all. So here's a good scoring hole that would favor a draw. So I think we have 2 draws to 4 fades, or 3 fades and a straight ball, or whatever. Hole number 7, another par. Oh, it's a par 4, 382 yards. My apologies. The water's on the left. How do you view this hole? If you hit a fade and it doesn't come back and you find the water, you're gonna have to re-tee once again. Just another hole you have to re-tee. Hitting a draw will start the ball off to the right and come back in. So if you were to find the water that way, you just drop where the ball crossed the line. I think when it comes to a hole like this, I would much prefer hitting a fade away from everything. It's a short par 4. Most guys are probably going to hit an iron off the tee box, honestly. For as long as these guys can hit it, like 260, you'd have 120 yards into the green. Either way, I don't think it's going to be much of a driver hole. So more of a placement. I would say let's go with the draw. So now we have 3 draws, 3 fades, and a straight ball. Hole number 8, 192 yard par 3. Looks like we have some bunkers that are guarding the green in the front. When it's this long of a hole, the preferred ball flight is a fade regardless. It provides more backspin. It's just the preferred ball flight. So we're going to go with a fade on that one. Hole number 9, water all on the right side. To me, this is fade all the way. Fade off the tee, fade approach shot. This is a fade hole. And when I say fade, I'm sorry. It's a left to right ball flight. So I'm thinking of a right-handed golfer, left to right ball flight. That's what we're preferring here. So now the front 9 is done. We have, from what I remember, 5 fades, 3 draws, and a neutral. So we're definitely favoring the fade golfers, the left to right ball flights. Hole number 10, 380, another short par 4. I don't think it's short where a golfer could actually drive the green. Water all on the right side. To me, this is more of a fade hole. You could hit a draw and hit it away from water, but you have to start it over the water, basically. But I'm going to give this one a fade one. So that's going to be 6 fades to 3 draws. Hole 11, anything. It's pretty neutral. 462, par 4. I don't think it really matters. Hole number 12, par 5, 592 yards. Tee shot, looks like you could hit anything. I would actually prefer a draw because it's just going to go further. And there is water on the right side. I think it'd be better to have a ball flight going against the water. So we're going to have a draw on this one. And definitely the how the green looks like just from this look. If we have a bunker here, we're going to want to sling a draw into the green in order to reach the green. So definitely a draw hole here. So that would be 4 draws to, what do we have, 6? Yeah, 6 fades and 2 neutrals now. Hole 13, par 3, 193 yards. This is fade all the way. You want to hit a fade on this one, no question. So that's 7 fades. Basically, if anything, the further we get through this, if we're already at 7 fades and there's 2 neutrals, that means that covers, well, I'm sorry, that'll leave a little bit of room left for draws. I didn't really think that one through. Don't mind me. Hole 14 is a draw hole. I am starting this one away from water. Water's all on the left side. This is very reminiscent of the Arnold Palmer hole number 4 or 5. I know the par 5 does it, but I think there's a par 4 that also goes around a lake. That's basically what this is. I would hit a draw here. So that's a draw. which means we have 7 fades, 2 neutrals. That means we have 5 draws, right? If I'm doing my math correctly. Okay. Hole number 15, pretty much straight away. I don't see any ball flight that really does anything here. So that's going to be 3 neutrals now. Hole 16, we have water on the right side. That's a fade. So now we have 8 fades, 3 neutrals, and 5 draws. So I think that just sums up. We want to hit, we want to be hitting a fade, but hole number 17 now looks like it's more of a draw hole, especially if the pin is on the left. If it's tucked on the left, we definitely want to be hitting a draw into that. But a fade would be your safe shot. So I'm going to give this one a draw. That would be 6 draws, 8 fades, and 3 6 draws, 8 fades, yeah, and 3 neutrals. Hole 18, par 5, 573 yards. I say you want to hit a fade, but you're gonna lose a little bit of distance hitting a fade. Definitely think, well, the second shot's gonna be a fade. You have to hit a fade for the second shot, or you're playing over the water. I'm reading just to see if the description says anything. Yeah, I just think no matter what, you want to be coming in with a ball flight that's going to be traveling this way. Anything that can kind of almost come in sideways is going to be your only real bet to get close to this hole. Unless you're bombing the ball 350 yards, which I know some of these pros can do. But 350 is going to bring in water even more so. God, yeah, if you could hit 350, having 220 yards in won't really, I mean, so if you're hitting the ball that far, 220 yards might be a 7-iron, might be an 8-iron for some of these golfers. An 8-iron would get enough spin, I suppose. But yeah, to get to this down here, you're going to want to hit a fade. That's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we're going to end with 9 fades, 3 neutrals, and 6 draws. So I think it's most of these scoring holes, you're going to want a fade. There is one par 5 you want to draw on your approach shot, but the rest of them are fades. So, and that's, again, left to right ball flight. That's what we have for the course preview. 17 minutes in, not terrible. Let's go ahead and look at the 2019 DK page. Again, we're skipping over course history. We're also going to skip over recent form. We only have 1 year of recent form to look at. We can obviously look at it here on this spreadsheet. But what I have done, if you're with me the last couple weeks, you would have seen I tally how many times a golfer finishes top 20 in a stat. And it's just if they finish top 20. Those stats, recent form, overall bent, 2019 bent, and all of these stats here. That is strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained approach, around the green, putting, green and reg, proximity, and birdies or better. So those were the only stats that I was actually tallying in 2019 for this tournament. So that's all I have. But here are your golfers that have top 20. They're in the top 20 of any one of those stats. Hideki Matsuyama was the leader with 10 stats, being top 20 in 10 stats. If I were to actually sort by top to bottom with stats, we really only see one golfer who missed the cut. Hideki obviously had the most. Brooks and Jason Day came in second and third, and they did not have good finishes. Now, Hideki fades the golf ball left to right. Brooks fades the golf ball. Jason draws the golf ball. As does Bryson. He draws the golf ball as well. Sung Jae fades the golf ball. Fade. I believe he now hits a fade, but he used to hit a draw. Corey Connors hits a draw. Hadwin shapes it both ways. I'm not sure about Merritt. Glover hits a draw. Piercy hits a fade. Actually, let me do that with the guys at the top 10 here. We have a draw. I'll just highlight all the golfers I know who hit a draw. Draw. Oh, I have Sam Burns saved somewhere. I'm not sure. Brian Harman is a lefty who hits a draw, so that's a left to right ball flight. So I'll keep that there. That is all I know who hit draws. So I think this leaderboard, let's just say Sam Burns hits a draw as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of the top 20 hit draws that I know of. I don't know much about Joey Garber. Neither do I know about Fabian Gomez or Adam Svensson. But I do know Berger hits a fade. Piercy hits a fade. Hovland hits a fade. Brian Harman hits a left to right shot. He's a lefty. It's a draw, but it's a fade for righties. Hideki hits a fade. Adam, he shapes it. Colin Morikawa hits a fade. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know for sure 7 golfers. Oh, Sungjae also hits a fade. 8 golfers that definitely fade the golf ball. So it's a little mixed, but I definitely, for stats, I would lean on the guys who hit fades. You know, we kind of already see. I mean, Bryson, sure, he hits a draw, but that's definitely what I would be looking for. But looking at stats, you know, really only one golfer who missed the cut. So we could probably heavily rely on looking at these stats and trying to find a golfer that we like that has a bunch of top 20 stats and going that route. So the other thing too that I like to look at, starting hole. I won't be doing that in this video for the 2020 DK page, but if you show up during the lineup construction video, I'll have it there. It's pretty mixed. Holes 1 to 10, morning, afternoon, maybe a little bit more afternoon tee times. Never mind. It looks pretty mixed, pretty evenly mixed. So I don't think tee time or starting hole really matters at this golf course. You can look at all the odds, fantasy points per game, value. I'm not going to go over any of that information. I don't think it's really that important. So we can go to recent form. If we look at the top recent form golfers, I mean, I want you to take this a little with a grain of salt. Most of the time when we look at a tournament, we're going to find golfers who have recent form. You know, we're going to find the top 20 having recent form something between, you know, like 1 to maybe 27, but we're down to 43. So this is the average finishing position for Adam Hadwin over the last 7 weeks. That's not good. 43 is in the top 20. That shows you how weak this field is. So it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing a lot of missed cuts, you know, for golfers that are considered top 20 for recent form at this tournament. I would say we have more missed cuts than we have top 20s. That's an issue. We do have one golfer who finished, or 2 golfers that finished top 10. Sorry, 3 golfers that finished top 10. So I wouldn't say completely avoid recent form, but it just doesn't look like it's that important of a stat. We can look at overall bent, and I'm doing warning right now. We're going to see the same thing. 43 is the bottom end of the top 20. When we scroll down and look at the rest of the average scores on bent grass, it ranges from like 43 to 54 is not a huge difference. So we have 40 golfers that are within 10 finishing positions, like average finishing positions. That's not a lot. Not at all. Let me go ahead and get rid of the out. Yeah, not a lot at all. So that's pretty problematic. It's problematic because it's not an easy one to kind of go by. You know, Sam Burns, Troy Merritt finished 7th place and they had 59 as their average finishing position on bent grass golf courses. Lucas Glover, 61.40. Yeah, it's even Carlos Ortiz down here who had a 67.67. Like, it's hard to say overall bent grass is going to matter. Yeah, we have bent grass, and the top 20 bent grass golfers do have 5 golfers who finish inside the top 20, as opposed to 3 golfers who missed the cut, 1 golfer who withdrew, which Kevin Na will do every once in a while. But for the most part, it's a pretty safe stat to go by. Top 20 in overall bent. Top 10 bent percentage. Now, this isn't a part of my stats, but you can see not a huge deal. In 2019, here are all your bent grass golfers, or top bent grass golfers. We see 6 golfers now who made the top 20. None of them, though, finished top 5. We do have 3 missed cuts and some of your top guys here with poor finishing position. So I don't know about grass stats, honestly. Doesn't look like it's really that important with grass stats. So let me go ahead and hide this, and we can talk about the swing stats now. Looking at strokes gained tee to green, if we sort by that, we see a couple golfers here inside the top 10, but 6 golfers who finished top 20, only 3 golfers that missed the cut. So I think, you know, when it comes to like tee to green, probably the best stat to have, mix it with maybe bent grass. Like if I were to open this up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 golfers who have top 20 bent grass. How many missed the cut? 0. So that would be Charles Howell, Hank Lebioda, Sung Jae, Joaquin Neiman. I can select all of those. Jason Day didn't miss the cut, but that's not a good finishing position for someone who is 10,900. But yeah, here you go. Here are your top tee to green guys with good bent grass. We don't have a single missed cut within that. However, we do have a couple 65. Well, we have a 65 place and a 66 place. Like, that's not good. And those are your top price guys. Now, these were elite golfers. I mean, they still are elite golfers. Someone like a Brooks and a Jason Day, probably using this tournament. Maybe they had ties to this tournament for some reason, or sponsor obligations, something like that, where they had to play here. When we usually see like an obligation to play somewhere, we don't really see very good results. Like, the golfer can use this as kind of a tune-up for wherever he's going next. So it's kind of a word of caution, and I would only say this is with veteran elite players. Some of the new guys, I think they're trying to win the tournament. So I wouldn't worry too much about the younger guys playing this golf tournament who are deemed elite, which I'm not sure. We'll look at 2020 to determine that. Off the tee, 5 golfers that finished inside the top 20, but a plethora of missed cuts off the tee. Probably not the stat we really want to be targeting. Approach, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 20s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 missed cuts. You know what I could do? We can average this out. I didn't even think about that until now. That's a 45.75 average finishing position off the tee. That's 53.8. Tee to green, 39.95. So obviously, definitely the best for the 3 that we looked at. 2019 POA, 44.25. That doesn't beat tee to green. We don't want to go that way. Did I do that for this way? I hope not. Nope, 44.25. Overall bent, 44.85. So not really. So tee to green definitely looking like the winner so far. Recent form, 52.45. So it's definitely not recent form. Okay, so how about around the green? Around the green, 50. So definitely not around the green, but there are 5 golfers who did finish inside the top 20. Obviously, we have a withdraw. A couple missed cuts. Maybe I should take the withdraw out so that doesn't really skew it that much. Hard to say. So that's 47.8. I think he was also in here. 44.6. That doesn't really help that much more. Recent form. 52.45. So still, T to green definitely looking like the stats so far. Around the green, 49.75. So definitely not that. I'm gonna go ahead and hide this stuff like I did before. How about strokes gained? I always like to call them shots gained, but strokes gained putting. 49.35. That definitely doesn't cut it. Only 3 top 10 finishes or top 20 finishes. Green and reg. Does this help at all? 49.75. So it's a little bit better than some of the stats we've looked at. I have to go back to the bent grass to make sure I'm looking at that correctly. Proximity, 53.05. That's not good. Birdie or better. We want to go the opposite way. Birdie or better. Does this do anything? 48.9. So T to green, 39, I think it was. 39.95. T to green, by far the best stat to choose. Surprisingly, off the tee. I mean, obviously, T to green is it's a really good number to go by. 45.75 approach. Oh boy, what was the bent grass again? 44.6. Trying to find what the second best stat was. 44.25, 2019 bent. So 44s are your grass stats. So I think you go to your grass stats after T to green. 52.25, looking at recent form. Oh, what was green and reg again? 49.75. Yeah, that's not going to do it. Okay, so it's T to green and it's bent grass stats. Those are the stats that look, I mean, they have the best averaging finishing position in this tournament. That's not really saying a lot, but you did see how many top 5s and top 10s there were. So let's go ahead, bring that over to the 2020 DK page, where I also have the stats on the left here. Let's go ahead and look at the top guy with stats, and it's Tony Finau. He is the thumbnail of the video. A 4-3. We'll talk about that when it comes to the lineup construction page. I don't like to bring in the bucket system now, but I'll talk about it then. But look at all these golfers with 9s and 8s. Like Russell Henley isn't someone you'd really think about being top 20 in 9 stat categories, but this is a weak field, so it does make a little bit of sense. Yeah, but bring it or look at it. Dustin Johnson, Bubba Watson. I mean, official world golf ranking, we have DJ, we have Brooks. Brooks being a 6-6, that's not good. I think that means I will avoid Brooks. You know what I'm going to do? I'll call it right now. I'm going to play Brooks in one lineup. It's going to be like a $1 winner take all, and it'll be my best Brooks lineup. That's the only place I'm putting Brooks. Otherwise, I'm having 0 shares of him. Tommy Fleetwood is very enticing. But let's go through the stats. Let's go through all of them and talk about that. Yeah, we don't have to look at this. So we didn't have course history, but course history is included over here on the left side. We didn't have course history for 2019, but again, I included it. So again, this is going to be your last year results, and obviously these match. So you'll see that. And again, like I said, I included that over in the top 20 stats, just so you're aware. But let's start with recent form. So here are your top 20. That's what this dark green color represents. Top 20 in recent form. And I mean, like Lucas Glover kind of stands out when it comes to recent form. And so does Russell Henley. I mean, I guess a lot of guys. Let's look at all the guys that I think are, even Chase Seifert. Chris Baker is really interesting for those that don't know who he is. He might be worth the flyer. I'm gonna go and highlight these guys. Seamus Power. Oh, Harris English. Of course, we gotta highlight Harris English. I would almost want to highlight Richie Werenski as well. Let's do it. Why not? So Seamus Power, Christopher Ventura, Harris English, Lucas Glover, Sam Burns, Richie Werenski, Russell Henley, Doc Redman, Henrik Norlander, Will Gordon, Chase Seifert. Those are golfers I think worth a look when it comes to just recent form, just looking at recent form. Again, not a stat that really was that important when we were looking at 2019. So, do with it as you will. I don't think it's that important. Let's go right to the overall bent. Now, again, remember this was one of the stats we wanted to look at. This and tee to green. So overall bent and 2020 bent grass. And your top guys, Dustin Johnson, Tommy Fleetwood, Tony Finau, Brooks Koepka, Rafael Cabrera-Bello. That's a really interesting name. Used to be one of the most consistent golfers. Now, not so much. But you can see his 2 top 20 stats are just bent grass stats. Bernd Wiesberger, he doesn't have any PGA stats. Neither does Tommy Fleetwood because they don't have enough stats. Or they don't have enough starts, I should say, when it comes to the PGA recording their stats. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, Tommy Fleetwood is a high-class golfer, and he would definitely be top 20 in many, many more stats. Bubba Watson shows up. Very good record on bent grass, so he has to be worth a consideration, as does Paul Casey. Do like Charlie Hoffman, especially with his recent form. Not, he's been golfing pretty decent. There are a lot of golfers that I like on for bent grass, including the defending champion, Matthew Wolff. Chris Kirk here, $7,800, might be a really good value. Now, Matthias Schwab, he had a really good 2020 bent grass. So this includes a missed cut and a 4th place finish. So he does have 2 events under his belt. The missed cut was last week at the Memorial Tournament. So that was a harder golf course. But like I said, he does have a 4th place finish on bent grass during the 2020 season. So it's definitely worth a consideration. I do like Russell Henley quite a bit. I would say don't sleep on Ryan Moore. Ryan Moore is a great player. Paul Casey shows up, like I said before. Definitely think about playing Paul Casey. I'm going to stay away from Bill Haas. Again, I'm going to stay away from Brooks Koepka. I'll play him in that one lineup. If he hits and I have the correct combination of players, I'll win my money back that I put in. But that's how I'm going to play this. I am going to fade Brooks except for the one lineup. Tony Finau is definitely my favorite play of this week. So that was overall bent, 2020 bent, Tony Finau at the top, Harris English next. I mean, these are all players I really want to play. Now, I can't remember how many did we find in the top 20 for top 20 stats. We have 6, I believe. So 6 top 20s, 3 top 10s, and really their top 15 finishes. So I think we can find pretty good value. 11-1, 8-2, 6,100 shows up, 91, 8,081. So can we see any of that here? How many 8s do we see? We see Brian Harman. If we were looking at 2019 and looking for this 9,100, we definitely have that with Lucas Glover. What was it? Did we 111-1? So Tony Finau. And a couple other 8,000s. Patrick Rogers. I like Patrick Rogers. Do we have another 8,000? Luke List. So this would be something similar to what the 2019 DK page looked like. Who's our $6,000 golfer that we could choose from? Anybody that's like min 6? Nah. I'm trying to find someone that has really good value. And who else has good overall? Well, is that what Fabian Gomez was here? Did he have? No, he had very terrible overall bent, but very good 2019 bent. Perfect. Where do we find that here? Maybe it's Peter Uihlein, 57.91. Maybe it's Richie Werenski. Or maybe it's just Patrick Rogers. We already have him highlighted. I'm gonna let's just put Peter Uihlein there. So like that's way overpriced. Can't do that. That's 51,800. So that's not a lineup you can actually play. Someone has to go. Yeah. Well, I'm just spitballing. I don't think we should. I'm not gonna waste any more time. All right, Tee to Green. This obviously was a big stat. Here are your golfers that don't have stats, okay? Man, I forgot to actually open up that for 2019. I think I have this hidden, don't I? How do we look at top 20 without seeing these guys at the bottom? Interesting. I gotta figure out how to do that. Is that because there's actual stuff in here? Oh, whatever. That works for me. Interesting. You have no idea how difficult it is to do that. I wonder why that is. Whatever. Tommy Fleetwood does not have. Let's actually go by salary and then Tee to Green. So Tommy Fleetwood at the top. He's really maybe the only person to talk about. Actually, no. These four guys right here. Look at their official world golf ranking. Obviously, these guys are decent golfers, and they should be considered when thinking about stats. But I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. We're not going to be looking at those golfers. So when we look at top Tee to Green, you know, if we follow like 2019's logic, here let's highlight all of the top Tee to Green golfers that finished top 20, I should say. And just look at their price. Look at any other stat that we can kind of come up with. Really, the only person that stands out, I guess two people that stand out. Lucas Glover and Adam Svensson. Terrible bent grass. Both 60 and over. So 60 and worse. But the rest of them, Hideki, very good bent grass stats. Sung Jae Im, very good bent grass stats. Bryson DeChambeau has a win on bent grass at John Deere. And Scott Piercy, pretty good bent grass. So let's go 2020. So there were 6. We saw 4 with good bent grass. We can kind of try to make that correlation. Let's highlight all the golfers that do have good bent grass that are here at the top 20. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No one was worse than 46 that I would consider good bent grass. So we could even put Erik van Rooyen in here, and that's about it. Because everyone else is over 46. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 golfers with good bent grass stats and Tee to Green stats. So Tony Finau, again, pops up. Tony Finau is definitely one of my favorite plays. Paul Casey pops out. He's also one of my favorite plays. Van Rooyen, Russell Henley, one of my favorite plays. Bubba Watson, Emiliano Grillo, and Dustin Johnson, all of them are questionable to me, which means we should probably play one of them. I guess when we look at 2019, I guess the recent, we kind of want to look at recent form too. So 58.5, Paul Casey, probably not something we want to look at, but we want to target someone like Finau. These guys, him. Is that it? So when I look at these top golfers, so there's a 59.5, but most of it is this light green 49 and below. So good recent form, good bent grass. Is that what we just saw? Good recent form. Yeah, good bent grass. Okay, so hey, we're digging a little bit more into this, so that's cool. So recent form, good bent grass. That just limits it down to Tony Finau, Erik van Rooyen, Russell Henley, and Dustin Johnson. Believe it or not. So definitely worth considerations, I would say. Could even consider like Lucas Glover maybe with his recent form average and his 2020 bent grass. We could look at somebody who has, not great. So obviously Lucas Glover 59.5 and Adam Svensson at 85. So Svensson didn't have good bent grass at all, but he was at the top. So maybe that's a Cameron Davis. I mean, he's the only one that pretty much qualifies as our Adam Svensson for this year. What did he have? Svensson 69.3 and 63, 74.4, 81. But we don't really have that same person. And I know it's not smart to chase that kind of thing anyway, so something we really don't have to think. But Cameron Davis is not a bad play. I don't mind Cameron Davis. He has a lot of raw potential. I do like Harris English as well. Like, I don't think we 50 we could probably extend from, what was it, 48.1. We could extend to 50, no problem. Maybe we even bring in Hudson Swafford, as other plays. So definitely worth the look, worth the consideration. Okay, that was a lot. Obviously, we wanted to find that because those were really kind of the correlating stats from last year. Off the tee did not matter, if you recall. So maybe we fade some of these golfers here based off of that. Maybe not. I don't know. It's up to you guys. I will. I know that for sure. Approach was a decent stat to look at. I mean, a lot of the same guys show up. Russell Henley, Doc Redman. He doesn't show up, but I do like Doc Redman. 8 top 20 stats in this field. I like it. Eric Van Rooyen, Tony Finau again, Harris English, and then some guys I don't so much care for. So, I mean, we only saw 3 that were top 20. Maybe it's those guys. Maybe it's these 3. I mean, obviously these guys also show up quite a bit. We're trying to, if I were to break it down, I would say choose 3 out of those golfers. So this is just slowly becoming more of a Tony Finau, Russell Henley, and Eric Van Rooyen type of lineup that I would create. And I don't think that's a terrible way to start, honestly. Around the green, we didn't really see this show up in 2019, but we can certainly see we have Hideki, Lucas Glover, Sung Jae, Troy Merritt, and Adam Svensson. So do we find, who was it that we were just looking at? Well, Hudson Swafford. Maybe it's Hudson Swafford that we're looking for as our next Adam Svensson. I don't see who we were talking about, and I don't even remember who we were talking about. But we have Tony Finau. Tony Finau is our Hideki from last year, basically. Oh, it's bothering me, guys. I have to look it up. I'm sorry. Who was it that we were basically saying, okay, he's going to be our Adam Svensson? Was it Cam Davis? Around the green, pretty close. 0.202. That's not terrible in this field. I mean, maybe it's Alex Cheka. Ooh, Alex Cheka actually fits that mold a little bit more. Okay, maybe it's Alex Cheka. He is up here. We'll figure it out during the lineup construction. Just some food for thought for now. Patrick Rogers shows up for putting. He is a phenomenal putter. I think, as long as he's trending upwards, tee to green doesn't look great, but he is a great tee to green player, typically on average. So approach is just terrible. That's why his tee to green is so bad, is because of his approach. I mean, like, looking at someone like Harris English, that's someone who I would prefer. What did we see in 2019 with putting? Was like Wyndham Clark? who really wasn't top 20 in any other stats. Sam Burns and Bryson. Look at that. Bryson showing up as a good putter. Okay. All of them have good recent form. I shouldn't say all of them, but the guys that finished well had good recent form. Do we see that here? Harris English, good recent form. You know, Patrick Rogers, good recent form. Roy Merritt, good recent form. Peter Uline with good recent form. And then Richie Wierenski, Chase Seifert, Sam Burns. We have a bunch of people that have good recent form that have good putting. Now, Christopher Ventura and Rain Gibson, I really don't know how I feel about those golfers. I'm probably not going to play anyone that has such terrible negative tee to green. Like if we look at the top 20 result, do we have anyone that's super bad? Joey Garber, minus 7.15, minus 3, minus 2. A couple guys with minus 3 or minus 0.3. But that's not what we're seeing here. We're seeing minus 0.7, minus 1.12. Yeah, we'll stay away from Christopher Ventura. We'll also stay away from Ryan Gibson and Troy Merritt as well. Yeah, definitely staying away from those guys. So whoever I just highlighted, obviously, skip the guys who are bad tee to green. Green and reg, I mean, we're seeing a lot of the same guys. Doc Redman, Harris English, Russell Henley, Justin Hadley maybe, Henrik Norlander. I really don't see anybody that I care too much about. Paul Casey. I mean, really, those 4 golfers are the only ones that really stand out for me. I do like Kyle Stanley. He's always one of my favorite golfers to play. Matthew Naismith, I was on him a lot last week. Maybe that favoritism I had of him last week, maybe I should bring some of that over here for this tournament. 6,900. I mean, he didn't even. Yeah, maybe Matthew Naismith we got to get on. Probably a good play, honestly. So that doesn't leave us with a lot. You know, we could easily trim down our player pool when thinking about those golfers. Proximity was not a stat that mattered in 2019, so I'm not going to really look at it. Nor was birdie or better, but I do think birdie or better is going to matter a little bit. Let me hide this so we can look at all the stats here. Like, we do have a lot of dark green for birdie or better. That's top 20 birdie or better. Carlos Ortiz really the only person. Brian Harmon even. And Joey Garber and Fabian Gomez. For me, I'm going to cross these 2 guys out because they are kind of your random golfer that just show up. Recent form for Garber makes sense. The rest of the stats don't. I don't even know if they were any good. Bent grass. Yeah, maybe Gomez with his 23rd place finish, wherever that was in 2019. Yeah, there's nothing that's coming out and saying, hey, play Fabian Gomez or Joey Garber. Other than this being an extremely weak field. There's just nothing that's even light green. Like I said, Garber with recent form. Fabian Gomez with 2019 bent. Like, there isn't anything else that these guys were really showing to say that they would be inside the top 10, the top 13. So like I said, I'm gonna cast these out. These are anomalies that we cannot figure out. In a way, can't really figure out Carlos Ortiz. I know he's a very talented golfer. I've liked watching him this year, I should say. Last year, obviously, we know, I mean, he hits the ball far, and maybe that's what a lot of this has in common. Bombs it. I know Wyndham Clark hits it far. So does Carlos Ortiz. So does Sam Burns. So does Lucas Glover. Hideki can hit it out there. I don't know about Garber. I really don't know how far Garber hits it. Hovland can smack it. So can Sungjae a little bit. So maybe distance is something we gotta be looking at. Obviously, you would see more off the tee stats being good. And in all reality, these are all positive off the tee. That's very compelling. Okay, so off the tee probably matters a little bit. It's just not top 20 off the tees. Okay. Totally makes sense. Yeah. So I do have driving distance over here. And I would be in on any of these guys. You know, Matthew Wolff shows up, Sam Burns from last year, Eric Van Rooyen, Patrick Rogers, Cameron Davis. These are guys we were just talking about. Tony Finau, Luke List. We did a little bit. We did talk about Dustin Johnson. There's Wyndham Clark. Christopher Ventura shows up, although he has terrible tee to green stats. But we want positive off the tee. So really, Brendan Hagee's the only one. Bo Hosler, Wyndham Clark. Probably stay away from those guys. But the rest of them, as long as you have positive, that's really the key here. Positive off the tee. And really just anything else. So, I mean, like, look at it. We don't even see any negative except for when we get down to Roger Sloan and Sean Stephanie. So if you see something in here, you see a mix, go ahead, pause this video, screenshot this. Use this for your advantage. Okay. Where were we? We were at driving distance. Birdie or better wasn't one of those things we were really looking at, but I guess if we combine it with off the tee being in the positive, maybe those are who we, you know, choose for golfers. Seamus Power, Tony Finau, Chesson Hadley, Will Gordon, Charlie Hoffman, Dustin Johnson, Christopher Ventura, although we just said no to him, Paul Casey, Lucas Glover, Xinjun Zhang, Danny Lee, Johnny Vegas, Ryan Armour. Those are your top birdie or better with positive off the tee. Not sure if that's really going to matter. I would almost consider a good drive percentage with good or positive off the tee stats as well. So not a very big pool here. Not playing Roberto Castro. Not doing it. Paul Casey, sure. Chesson Hadley, Emiliano Grillo, Henrik Norlander, Harris English, DJ Trahan, not playing that. Ryan Armour, not playing that. Doc Redmond, sure. Bryce Garnett, maybe. Ryan Moore and Johnny Vegas. So Vegas shows up quite a bit. And I know he was kind of a play that a lot of people were liking. So I mean, like, looking at 2019 DK, and we keep going back and forth. Like, I have this is obviously sorted by result. When we look at all the stats here, we have a couple negative tee to greens. We have a bunch of negative tee to greens. Probably more than half. But only one of those negative tee to greens has negative off the tee. So it looks like off the tee is a stat we should be looking at. And really looking at bent grass, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in the top 20 for overall bent. And they all have tremendous off the tee stats. Top 20 in off the tee. 2 of them have good tee to green. Could obviously look at that kind of stuff. Like Matsuyama was kind of your total package. 11-1 at 7th place. It'll win you money, but it's not going to win you a GPP, and that's important. Yeah, I guess you mix these with putting. Is that what I'm looking at right now? Is that the correlation? Positive off the tee, positive putting. Yeah, nothing. Maybe some decent birdie or better. Ooh. Ooh. How about this? Let's do this really quick. I know it's already running about an hour long. It's already at an hour long. Off the tee, let's filter by condition and just say greater than or equal to 0. And then putting greater than or equal to 0. How much does that trim all of this down to? How many golfers do we have? Ooh, we don't have a lot. 24 golfers. Believe it or not, Brooks Koepka actually fits that mold with how terrible he's been golfing, and recent form fits it. And like we have kind of our mix of overall bent. I mean, if I do the same thing here, filter by condition, and go to is greater than or equal to 0. And then we do the same thing for putting, greater than or equal to 0. Now I know this is, you know, we can't really rely on putting stats, but I'm curious. How many top 20s do we have? Not a lot. We don't even have the winner. The winner didn't have stats, so 2, 4, 5, 5, 7, 7, 7, 7. That's actually pretty decent. Like I'm not even concerned by that. 10, 5, 8, 1, 8, 9, 8, 2. 8, 2, 8, 5, 8, 6, 9. We have 5 from 8,000 and above. 5. You want to choose 5 from 8,000 and above. Who are you picking? Every one of these guys had good recent form, so we would get rid of the guys who don't. So like Bubba Watson does not have good recent form. Neither does Brian Harmon or Max Homa. So we can select these guys right here. That drops it down a little bit more. 82, 85, 86, 997. So Sam Burns 85. Is anyone playing him at 8,500? I might. Sam Burns doesn't even have very good bent grass. He could be that guy we were looking for last, or when we were looking at all this stuff. Like, you know what? Sam Burns could be Sam Burns of last year. 8,500 though, with bad bent grass stats. That doesn't look like a good thing to do. Actually, no one from that 8K and above had bad bent grass stats. Yeah, I guess maybe not. Maybe now Sam Burns, you're no longer welcomed on the team. As Henrik Norlander does not have good bent grass. Harris English does. Matthew Wolff does. As does Tony Finau, Brooks, and Patrick Rogers. 58.91. 59.14 of Sam Burns. I guess we keep him. I mean, Sam Burns still has that overall bent grass. I mean, it's very close. So I guess we keep Sam Burns. Yeah, what the heck? Why not? Yeah. 6 golfers right there that you could start your lineups with. Really liking more and more Harris English, Matthew Wolff. I don't mind whatsoever. Really liking Tony Finau. I do like Charlie Hoffman. Some interesting plays down here. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go that much further into it. It's already late. And this video is already over an hour long. So join me with the lineup construction video, and we'll dig more into this. We'll try to find a really good player pool to select from. We'll include more of the buckets and try to figure out what we want to be searching for and what we think is important, and go from there. So with that, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. all that good stuff. Turn that notification bell on so you know when I create videos and post them to YouTube. And that's it. Good luck, guys.